Welcome to Stacy Washington Now. So excited to be here on a Monday. Welcome to the week. We are going to be joined today by fantastic guests. In fact, we have all veterans on with us today. Retired U.S. Army and Marine veteran Jason Nelson will address the border situation, and also U.S. Army veteran Jared Lovelace joining us to discuss foreign policy and his political ambitions. We are now going to jump into the presidency. So you may know Michael Rappaport from many different television shows, movies. He usually plays the bad guy or the put upon good guy. Lots of cursing, lots of action, and usually lots of scenes where he's getting beaten up. Lots of action. He's a in that genre of Hollywood where he's a rough guy. He's in New York usually. He's in love with New York. He feels it's the greatest city on earth. And he has had a long career in Hollywood. And so he's always been a rabid anti-Trump individual. And so I don't mean like he doesn't like Trump, period. He used to be pretty cool with Trump when Trump was a part of Hollywood and the Democrats. And once Trump declared himself a Republican, moved into the right side of the political arena and ran for president, many people in Hollywood, to include Michael Rappaport, simply left Trump in the dust. They felt that he betrayed them and they wouldn't have anything else to do with him. So fast forward to today, where we have a very interesting situation going on at our southern border. The southern border is wide open. And you remember last week, we discussed this unbelievable story of a mob of migrants beating on two NYPD police officers who were trying to apprehend one individual. And so the melee went mass and wide. Everyone in the country has seen the video. And so there's this new sense of lack of order that's settling in on Americans who previously thought that was a right-wing talking point. So there's this video, it's laced with profanity. We've bleeped it out for you. But there's a message here that is very different from the one that Michael Rappaport has had in the past. In the past, his criticism on the political sphere has always been anti-Trump and about his personality, his personal flaws, Trump's looks, the things about him that are really immaterial to him being a political leader. Now it turns to an actual issue of law and order and a sense of justice about the city that he loves, which is New York. I want you to take a look. Michael Rappaport is here screaming. He's livid. He's having the roughest of all times. And I think for me, when I look at him having this really rough time, it makes me think that he maybe is coming to a realization that the Democrats, especially at the local level in New York, don't have his best interests at heart. He's been previously very smug and irate, but now he's willing to vote for the man he loves to hate. It's Michael Rappaport. Take a look.
This is why when I say voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table, voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table. The other day in New York City, 6 illegal aliens jumped a New York City cop, NYPD's finest. They jumped a New York City cop in Times Square and were arrested and released without bail. I know it's a city thing. I know it's a state thing. I know all that. I know all that. Okay? Stay with me. Released without bail. Came out of the courtroom on some Tupac raising the middle finger with the Detroit Red Wings jersey. Let me tell you something. What the is the world coming to? If you could be from another country, beat up a cop in New York City, and walk out with no bail? What the is the world coming to? What the is the world coming to? I know, Mayor Adams, you're from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I know this. Like, what the have I gotten myself into? Stay with me.
So he's obviously very upset there, and I understand his ire. All of us were shocked by what we saw in that video with those migrants beating up the NYPD officers. But the bigger story here is that Michael Rappaport isn't the only one who's struggling with what's going on in New York City. Many New Yorkers who are on the left, I think of Jessica Tarlov, she's the resident liberal over at Fox News, and she has been struggling mightily with the idea that she would be able to criticize what's going on while refusing to admit that the thing that needs to happen now is you have to vote for someone else, right? So if it's at the local level in New York City, it's you have to vote for someone besides Mayor Eric Adams. If it's at the gubernatorial level, you have to vote for someone besides Kathy Hochul. You have to look at the people across the government and you have to look at the results that you're experiencing. And then you have to say, I need to vote differently. And so, for many people, their political persuasion is an ideology that they have adopted. It's as if it's their second skin, it's their identity. So, rather than saying, I use the tool of politics, and when it's appropriate, I vote for Democrats, when it's appropriate, I vote for Republicans, as my husband and I were in the unique situation of having just recently become Republicans 20 years ago, while still living in the city of St. Louis, where no Republicans ever run for office. So we had to vote for Democrats. So instead of trying to figure out where they were, because this was before every campaign had a website, we would actually let them talk to us at the door. They would come and they would door knock our neighborhood, and we would stand there at the door with them for 15 or 20 minutes asking our questions. And we actually found a couple of pro life Democrats back then who were in the city, who were interested in making change, that we were able to vote for while we lived there. So I'm not saying that I would vote for a Democrat now. At this point in our history in 2024, there's no way I would ever pull the lever for a Democrat. But I'm demonstrating that in the tool of politics, when you're using that, you have to look at the options and choose the best one. So it's not about your identity. Voting for Trump doesn't mean you agree with him having been married multiple times or his comments about Rosie O'Donnell. If those were offensive to you, you can look at those. You can say, okay, I wouldn't say those things, and I don't agree with him saying those things. But when it comes to closing the border, when it comes to crime and safety, when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to domestic policy and the economy, when it comes to energy policy, when it comes to whether or not I should choose to be able to buy whatever kind of car I want. If I want to drive a horse and buggy like the Amish, I should be able to do that without the government incentivizing or disincentivizing my decision. When you look at it that way, when you think about the tool of politics that way, then it ceases to be a part of your identity and it becomes a tool that you use to control government, which was all it was ever meant to be. We were never meant to be card carrying Democrats or card carrying Republicans. And we were certainly never meant to see those things as means by which we would cordon off other people and not allow them into our lives, that we would never hear the opinions of other people and respect them as people just because, hey, they're this politics or that politics. The fact that it has become an identity for so many people is the reason why we see the adoption of a take no prisoners attitude towards voting for people who are really doing wrong things in this country and should never be allowed in politics. So we have more now coming up for you in just a minute. Stay right there.